what a beautiful teachable moment. Take one, take two. I had my opportunity for a take two, right? Now we go through life hearing stories like, oh, your village people are after you. This happened, that happened to this, your grandfather, and this happened to your uncle. And we buy into those stories. We live our lives based on the stories that people tell us. Growing up, I loved fairy tale stories. I mean, I'm a filmmaker. I love happy endings. I love romantic comedies. I'm a sucker for love. I even have a fairy tale picture of this princess that I am. You know, I grew up reading Snow White, Cinderella, and subconsciously, those stories planted this idea in my head that, you know, I'm a princess. And I will have my Prince Charming riding in a horse, and he'll come and rescue me from all the problems in Nigeria. Well, that kind of happened, but I won't go into that just yet. A lot of us go through life hoping that we would have our happy ever afters. To one person, happy ever after might be, when I finally get that job, when I finally break into Nollywood, when I finally become president, and the list goes on. I think what those books didn't tell us is that maybe, perhaps, happy ever after is just a moment in time, and life must be lived in those moments. We must be intentional about creating those little moments that make our hearts beat, that make us smile. Not necessarily waiting for the big picture, because after the big picture, what next? What happens to you? After you get the job, you realize that maybe this is not the job I wanted. After you get the car, you start to have problems, and you realize that maybe this is not the car. So what next? We start to feel frustrated and disillusioned. The first time someone described me as a widow. Me? Do I look like? Nope. I do not look like what I have gone through. I do not smell like smoke. I walked through the fire, and I decided that I wouldn't smell like smoke. I wear my dress, I look nice, I spray my perfume, and I go out there. When she made that introduction, I didn't quite know how to feel. I wasn't sure if she was truly describing me. And it was almost like an out-of-body experience. Am I truly a widow? Is that all that I am? I mean, I'm someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's sister. I'm an actor. So many titles, but you chose to label me and define me by one by one occurrence in my life. I felt like that was the wrong label. Because if you know the root meaning of widow, it means to be empty. I don't think that I am empty. I know there was a time that I felt empty. I was tired. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to try. I just wanted to be empty, actually. There was a phase like that. And so I realized that a wrong label might be like a wrong diagnosis. When a doctor says somebody has a certain disease and the person doesn't, but they go home believing and buying into what that doctor has said. And somehow they actually die at the appointed time that the doctor said because they have chosen to believe. And that is the power of words. That is the power of the words that we speak. That is the power of stories. That is the power of the things that we choose to believe. Those words are just ordinary words until you believe them. Whatever powder anybody sprayed, it's just powder. And they are just words until you buy into them, until you choose to absorb them and believe them and allow them to hold you. The words that people speak over you, they're good, they're great. But the words that you speak about yourself, how you describe yourself, how you decide to tell your story, that is what counts. And so I left that conversation refusing to be described or defined in that manner or addressed or introduced in that way. What was meant to be my happily ever after ended in 3 years. And that moment broke me. That moment of my life, I didn't want to leave. I was like, what am I doing here on earth? Why am I here? I would wake up each day and just move about, scurry around, doing whatever it was that I could. Until one particular day, I just woke up and decided this was not going to be the end of me. I was dealing with insomnia. I was going through a lot of mental health challenges. I was doubting myself. I was beginning to believe that truly my village people were after me. Honestly, there was nothing you could tell me. Because just like one of the speakers said, you would think that, if you're good, then good things will happen to you. Because I really think that I was good. I tried. My choice of a husband was great. I feel like I had followed the right pathway to an extent, and I didn't deserve what I got. But it happened, and I wasn't going to allow it define me. One morning, I was dealing with insomnia. I hadn't slept the entire night. I was driving on the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway, and the traffic light turned red. But I just kept going because I was sleeping. And then the other cars started to, blare, and somebody even came and, really hit my car. Like, what did they do you? And then it dawned on me at that moment that if I didn't take control of my narrative, if I didn't take control of my life, that would be my end. That would be the end of me. And so I summoned my inner superhero. I call her Chi Wonder. That's her right there. I summoned her. I was like, no, we can't do this. What are your superpowers? I started to ask myself. What are those gifts that are inside you? What are those things you've always loved to do? Because if this experience taught me anything, it taught me that life is not guaranteed. We don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't even know how long we'll spend here on earth. And so I wanted to spend every day of my life doing something I love to do. And I've always loved to perform. I've always loved to act, to dance. I draw. When it comes to art and creativity, that's like my nickname back then. And so I remember back in secondary school, you couldn't take me off the stage. Every social night, I would belt out like 3 or 4 performances, and I was literary debating and dramatic club president in my school. And one of those days, right, when it came to performing, I was excellent. But when it came to book and academics, I was just average, and I was okay with that. We're not struggling for firsts. It does all those things don't matter in heaven, right? So the usual performer in me, and they said, we're doing debates. I said, okay, let's go and debate. I said, yes, I'm ready. And I crammed. I wanted to overdo and outshine everybody. I should have just left that side for them. I said, no, I can't do it. This was earlier on before I became president of the dramatic club. Anyways, I was in JS3 at the time. And I went and I started. The girl is not supposed to do. And my brain froze. I went blank. I couldn't remember, what they call shingbang? I couldn't remember a word. And I just said, thank you. And I walked out. And that was really bad. But my English teacher thought, and we have a lot of lecturers here, so I'm like, please give me an A after this. But my English teacher thought that was a moment to rub it in. I felt like, Auntie, you should have taken it easy on me. But no, she said, how do you go and do this? You can't prepare. And she finished me. And you would think that after that experience, I'll just go and take my L and relax. No. I used all her lessons in English to construct a well-written letter to tell her that wasn't the moment to address my failure, and she should have just, talked to me nicely. And when I was done, I signed it and put yours faithfully, put my name and my class. So, if you're looking for me, you know where to find me. And she came to look for me, truly. I spent the next day kneeling by her table and writing letters asking for forgiveness. I'm promising never to do that again. But if I had, wait, hold on. I went on to become her favorite student after that. Every time there was an essay to write, she would call on me. Every time there was a performance to do, she would call on me. But if I had bought into what she said to me after my performance, trust me, I wouldn't be standing here today because she said a lot. I don't care to remember. I chose to focus on my lesson, to focus on my strength. But I picked the lesson out of that. I never cram. I learned after that day never to cram. So even if I have a performance, even if I have a script, who would have thought that that lesson would help me on set? There are times when you have your script, like just a day before, the producer will be saying, don't worry, we'll send it to you, we'll send you the script. You won't get the script until that morning. And so the lesson I learned in JS3 keeps coming to mind, like, sister, don't cram, just do what you can and leave the rest for God. And so in that moment of despair, in that moment of fear, of failure, which I'm sure that we're all too familiar with, I decided not to pitch my tent there. I decided to go back to my superpower, which was performing. And I was actually I'll call it an unfulfilled producer at the time. I was working in Spice TV, yes, and they actually gave me a paid leave to stay at home and grieve for as much as I wanted. But I was unfulfilled. So I wanted to spend, like I said, the rest of my life doing something that I loved. So I decided to go back to acting. I went to the office and said I wanted to resign, and everybody was scared. Resign. Now. As in now that you are the only one, father and mother, you want to resign. How? What are you going to do with your life? I said, I don't know. I don't have it all figured out. But I know what I love. I know my passion. I know what I want to do. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life pursuing it. So, in honesty, nobody has it all figured out, though. Even if they tell you, nobody in this life has it all figured out. We might all package and put on the swag and tell you, this is my 5-year goal, my 10 years vision 2025, all of that. Nobody has it all figured out. We figure it out on the way. So you must ensure that you're already on the journey. What are you doing? In spite of what has been said about you, in spite of your failures, in spite of everything that is going on, the trauma from missing your happy ever after, right? And today, I'm standing here before you with all the accolades, all the awards. But I want to tell you that it doesn't matter what you're going through or what your experience has been. Sometimes your failures are an opportunity for you to do a take two. Don't allow your failures define you. Don't allow the downtime in your life to put a label on you. To those who have lost someone, or to those who are grieving, grief is not a stop sign. It's not the end of your life. You don't have to wear it and own it like it's your portion in life. You can either be pitiful or powerful. You have to choose which one is going to be. And I know Nigeria is a country where we love to throw pity parties. If I say, how many people are going through things here? You say, is this your own? So that's it. If you hear my own, we are always in competition. Who is going through the most? We're not contesting for that. We want to know, after everything you went through, what have you done? Tell us your success story, and you can write that success story. In 2020, I attended a vision boarding session. It was the first one I attended. And at that time, I had done a lot of personal work on myself. I had gone to therapy. I had focused on my healing, my strengths, discovering myself. I had done the background work, because sometimes if you want to rewrite your story, if you write from a place of pain, you might not write as much. You might put in some limitations. If you write from a place of your failures and your mistakes, you say, let me not dream too big. Let me not try too hard. So it's important that you are intentional about healing from everything that you've gone through. Because everybody here has a story. Everybody here has experienced one form of failure or the other. Just the fact that you're born in Nigeria safe, it's enough to traumatize you. So you can heal from that. You can forgive yourself because, you didn't choose what country you were going to be born in. But you can decide to write, okay, maybe I want to be an American, and you learn maybe you want to be from the United Kingdom, and you can package yourself accordingly. But what I'm trying to say is you can write the story of your life. I remember in 2020, I attended this vision boarding session, and I created this board where I put a picture of Oprah Winfrey. I also put, we know the story of Oprah, right? I also put my cosmetic line, Look at Me. At the time, I hadn't traveled to some of the Senrere countries I wanted to visit. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put Italy. Then I put so many nice things. I put the picture of a supermodel. I'm still trying to get to that side. But manage me for now. And I love me just the way I am right now. This was 2020 when the world stopped. The pandemic happened. So after writing my vision board, the airways were closed. Nobody was traveling. No embassy was open. There was no way that I would get a visa anyways. But that singular action of writing my story and how I wanted my life to be, it worked. It helped me to arrange my choices. And my choices somehow aligned to what was written there. I also wrote that I wanted to be one of the most sought-after actresses in Nollywood. And in 2020, if you followed my journey, I probably was still doing some waka pass and, So in 2020, I wrote that down. Once the airports opened up and the airways opened, the first country I traveled to was Italy. I got my Schengen visa. It just happened. I don't even know how it happened. Now that I think about it, I didn't even realize that it manifested until I was traveling. I was like, hold up, you wrote this in 2020. And it was 2022? In 2022, I got my Schengen visa and I was traveling to Italy. So you can actually rewrite the story of your life. Stories that shape us. And I would like to conclude with this, right? In our journey of life, there's so many stories that can shape us. The ones that people tell you about your village people, the ones you read in your Bible, the fairy tale stories that you heard, the ones your lecturers tell you in school. So many stories. But the most powerful story is the one you tell yourself. How do you describe yourself? In spite of the cards that you have been dealt, what is your story? Are you going to be defined by what has happened? Or are you going to heal and write a new chapter in your life? Thank you.